Today we're going to talk about my 5 marches in Rise of Kingdoms. Now, I want you guys to understand whenever we make this type of content, whenever we're looking into the account, this is a very unique account. Not everybody has the same account within the game. But, of course, there are some similarities as well. Now, I gotta say to you guys that when we look into my commanders in here, it seems that I may have a lot more than anybody in the game. Yes, that is true, but also there's a lot of players that have a lot more commanders than me. Now, with the situation that I have, as you guys have known, I've slowed down into my spending. That means I've also slowed down on obtaining many of the commanders, especially in the Wheel of Fortune. So some of the commanders that I did not obtain, especially in the archers, are gonna be like Gilgamesh, Nebuchadnezzar, and I think Henry I didn't get as well. So let's try to sort this out within the archer in here. As you can see, I have not maxed this commander, Gilgamesh, Neb, and Tutmos, and as well as Henry. But I've got pretty much all of the archer setups in here. So with that being said, my setup is going to be very different than maybe if you're watching other creators out there. You know, maybe they have all the commanders in there and they can actually do a lot more optimal, combinations that they can really do. So for me, I feel like I can relate to the 90% of the player base in Rise of Kingdoms who does not have all of the commanders within the game. So if you are one of them, I want to know in the comment section below. Let me know. Are you one of the players in Rise of Kingdoms that do not have the ability to obtain all of the commanders? So if you're one of them, you're the same page with me, because sometimes we gotta make things work and we need to be more creative on the type of combinations that we're gonna do in Rise of Kingdoms. If you have everything, if you can spend $100,000 a year and you have all the commanders within Rise of Kingdoms, then the strategy there is a lot easier and a lot more flexible on some of the things that you can do because you have all the majority of the commanders. But for us, we don't have that opportunity. So today we're going to talk about my 5 marches, and like I said, my 5 marches is very unique because I don't have all of the optimal commanders, and you have to understand that that is the situations that you are looking into as you're watching into this video. So my first march and my primary march in here, it's going to be Amanitore and Boudica. So this is my main march. It is going to be running with the archers. Now there are some comments about the setup that I have right now, indicating that when you do a Amanitore and a Boudica, you are then dispelling basically this skill, this when under control effect, and as well as the skill from Amanitore about this immunity to silence. So that is 100% true. It is kind of negating that skill. But one thing that you have to understand, this thing, it has to be when under controlled effects. So it's also including disarm and as well as heal immune. Now, as you can see with Amanitore, we do have our setup in here as a support path. Now, with that support path, as you can see, with Boudica, we have the healing factor here. When attacking troops receive healing factor of 800. So that kind of works in the complementary to the elixir skill. This is my current open field skill. And I've heard also that people have said, oh, it's not very efficient in the battlefield. Actually, I love it in the open field. I do wonders with this setup, and you just got to try it. It's similar to what we have done a long time ago. Back then, we talked about Artemisia and Tomyris, and majority of the community says, no, it's not a good pair until players have realized and understood what I'm talking about and started doing that combination. Now, Amanitore and Boudica is an amazing field presence for archer commanders. Now, of course, if I have other commanders in here, I would probably make a little bit of a different changes. But for my current setup with Amanitore and Boudica as my primary setup in here for archer, I think it is very deadly. If I find you in the open field, you are going to get crushed with this setup. Of course, with the crystal tech, if I have it maxed out as well. But if we met in the home kingdom without crystal tech, I can definitely guarantee you that we're going to definitely create some havoc in the battlefield. So Amanitore and Boudica Prime, definitely a wonderful commander to use. It's going to give you high skill damage, great targets towards the infantry. just really insane damage in here, and also increasing marching speed bonus allows you to move around the map, and more infantry damage here from Boudica as well. This is just very good commander setup. So the second commander march that I have, it's actually going to be Ramses and YSG. Now, many people have also, I noticed some people have said in my previous video that this is an old setup. This is definitely an old setup. You have to consider this is my setup because I don't have all of the archer commanders in here. So with that setup that I have, Ramses and YSG is absolutely the most optimal player that you can definitely do with Ramses. So this is my setup. Now, like I said, this is most optimal that I have since I don't have Gilgamesh or Neb, or, you know, well, Tutmos is not even considered for now, but like Gilgamesh or Neb. Now, the thing here, with Ramses and YSG, you know, the talent tree that I use is this. This is the best talent tree. We've done a lot of testings in here. This is the only talent tree that I would really recommend for you guys. We've done a bunch of testing with this long time ago with puddle kicks, and I'm sure many of you guys have already seen that video as well. So Ramses and YSG, high skill damage, and also you're going to inflict this heal immune effect right to the target. Is also you're going to decrease the defense by 30%, and you get AoE from YSG as well, which makes it so deadly and cast quickly as well because of YSG's ability to gain rage. So this setup is definitely really good when you get into this murder ball. The next march that I have here is going to be another archer march. So if you look into my fourth march actually in here, in my fourth queue, it is going to be Artemisia and Tomyris. Now, like I've mentioned before, this is one of those most popular combinations for Archer, Artemisia and Tomyris. And my current talent tree for that, it is actually going through this path. And as you can see, this has been a very successful setup in here. It's gotten a little bit weaker because I've removed the gear. It used to be running this as a main march with Artemisia and Tomyris before Amanitore have came out. So now this is my third archer march for my setup. Now, Artemisia, as we know, a very tanky commander, and what this brings in the battlefield is that Tomyris can stack poison for the opponents, so it allows me to see my hit marker and as well as hit them with a higher skill damage, and also my allies to hit them with a higher skill damage. Also, Artemisia has a significant amount of damage to bring in the battlefield, and as well as whenever you pair it with Tomyris, right? With this one, you're getting more attack bonus in here. Archer units led by this commander gain 30% increased attack, and all attack has a chance to decrease the target's defense by 30% for 30 seconds. So as you can see, my marches in here from the archer, it's really to remove the defense of the opponents. So that's one of the biggest thing with this 3 archer marches that I have. Now, let's take a look into my fourth march in here, which is going to be an infantry. Now, currently I have Guan and Alex. I'm also considering this is one of the biggest things. Maybe I can get your suggestion. I know I've talked about this before that I'm going to max out Scipio, but I really do need to consider on maxing out Scipio eventually. And I want to do a Guan and Scipio setup, but I think hopefully I'm not that late yet. But I just got 5511. We got 1,000 sculptures in here. If I get a lot of players saying that I should max out Scipio, I'll probably go and max out Scipio. But for now, this is more like a outdated march for me though. This since I'm not like a fully infantry main, I'm a mix of archer and infantry. So my Guan Yu and Alex is kind of outdated. So I need to really upgrade that. Or maybe I should do a Herald instead. I don't know. I really like Herald as well. I've been considering of getting Herald because I think Herald is one of those really, really good infantry commanders as well. But as you can see, my setup is really a high skill damage march. This is a march that is going to inflict a lot of skill damage when they cast. So when I go into the battlefield, if I can't cast my skills, it really hurts me a lot because I typically will not do the best when it comes to just normal damage or counterattack damage. I really need to cast that skill damage. All of these are high skill damage commanders. So this Guan Yu, of course, you guys already know that it is the highest skill damage of infantry and AoE, and also can silence commander. And by Alexander bringing there also give us some damage there for more like a normal attack damage, and as well as granting us shield for our Marchest in here. So as you can see, this is going to grant us some shield. We're getting some damage factor. We're getting some attack bonus here, 30% when in the map. So Alexander, definitely a great setup in here. Although it's a little bit outdated, I would rather have a Scipio. So I've been thinking about it. I'm just trying to conserve my sculptures. So another thing that I have in here is my cavalry march. This is going to be my Alexander Nevsky, and typically I would change it to Minamoto or Cao Cao since I am not a very Cavs main. I really love Nevsky. This is why I invested in Nevsky. Nevsky, as you guys already know, this is one of those legendary commanders that you should have if you're a cavalry setup. I don't have all the best gears in here, but with Nevsky, it gives you a significant amount of damage here, direct damage. And as you guys know as well, Minamoto as well hits so hard, especially with the museum buff. So definitely this is a really good march that I've got in here, and you can see there's more bonuses that we're getting in here. Cavalry defense, damage bonus, damage taken reduction, makes it a little bit more tanky in the battlefield. And also you get some more attack bonus. So definitely when I use these marches, 5 marches, and I get to target specific one and able to cast my skill and really kill and really hone in into that player, you can definitely know that that player is going to suffer a significant amount of losses. Now, the thing that I have an issue with this mixed marchers that I've shown you, is the marching speed. So as you guys know, 1 is Cavs, 3 is Archer, and 1 is Infantry. So definitely my marching speed is whack. So typically I will have to march somewhere, and I will have to march all of them into a destination, and then I have to make sure that I wait for them to be all in one concrete area before I start to attack, because I don't want them to be moving around too far too much, whereas my commanders are going to be left behind. So that's one of the biggest issue whenever you're doing a mixed troop. Now, I'm telling you guys this setup that I have has been a budgeted setup. So if many of you guys can actually relate and not be able to max out all the commanders, this is a content that you guys need to really see and share, because this is the reality of Rise of Kingdoms. The reality is that not everyone can max every single commanders, right? So as you guys know, I've spent before on VIP 18. I can't even do it because there's so many commanders that you want and you like. Now, I think what I'm going to be doing as well is I'm going to start working towards to all the gears of my other units. I really wanted to do in infantry and cabs. I need to have a cabs because when I have a cabs, it allows me to chase other players as well. So whenever sometimes, one is going back, I'll send my cabs to run and chase that player and hunt them down. So, just various different situations. This is why I had to invest in cabs. And, investing in infantry allows me to, with Guan allows me to hit so much harder, especially with the poison stack that I bring with the Tomyris. And you got to understand the situation before. We don't know what commander is next that are coming out. That's why we try to invest on the good ones that we see right away. But in the future, I may eventually have, 5 archer marches, and I might not have to do a mixed troop by then. So that's probably where my path is going to go. Eventually, there's going to be more archers, of course, released, and we're going to obtain those archers since we're still going to be an archer main specific focus. So eventually, we'll have a full 5 archer marches, and my marching speed will not be much of an issue by then. So this is my 5 marches in Rise of Kingdoms. Let me know what you guys actually think about this. With that being said, rockers, thank you guys for watching. Like I said, this is content that is 90% of the community can probably relate because you don't max every single commander. If you do, then you're probably in the top 10% that can actually spend a lot of money, and you can just definitely do whatever you want. Anyway, rockers, I'll see you guys again next time.